Hi, my name's Herman Van der Meeden. I'm doing this video to tell you about a book I read, Allen Carr's Easy Way to Stop Smoking. It so worked for me. I not only had an easy time quitting smoking, I had a great time. Absolutely fantastic time. It was like I was in an amusement park. He mentions in his book too that not only is it easy, but it can be enjoyable, and it really can. I smoked for over 37 years, and I tried so many times to quit, mostly with the willpower method, but as he talks about the different methods of quitting that don't seem to work for you, he mentions that as the number one, of course. It's because people want to still smoke but want to quit. Well, when you put the two of them together, you find you're not able to do it because you still have this want to smoke. So I tried that and that didn't work. Then I tried, I also tried cutting down. The only problem with cutting down is you end up looking forward to having that cigarette. Like if you say, well, today I'm going to have a cigarette every hour. Well, you start looking at the clock and you think, oh, I can have a smoke in 10 minutes. I can have a smoke in 5 minutes. And then your cigarettes become something special to you. He mentions in the book, you should not let these toxic, rancid things become special. Treat them like they are. Just awful toxic things that smell like crap that you are forced to, from an addiction, put to your face every hour or so of every day. Nice. Well, I also tried Zyban. Now, Zyban, I believe, was an antidepressant that turned into a quit smoking drug. It showed some promise, but I drive a truck and, well, you can't really do the antidepressant and drive a truck at the same time. It isn't really for the best. So, on safety's sake, I quit that. I also tried laser therapy, and this is where they have some kind of little laser and they touch all kinds of points on your body. I came out of there wanting a cigarette. It didn't work. There was a bonus though, like I dropped $300, and so you think, oh well, $300 for nothing. But no, they gave me a little CD. And on that CD it talked about this magnificent little mineral called magnesium. And you should read up on it, because you might find that that might be something that you want to take for yourself. I know it didn't help me quit smoking, but you gotta take the positives where you can get it. Well, I'm going through smoking and not wanting to, and then a friend of mine, Cheryl, she mentions Allen's book. And she was in the middle of reading it, or starting to read it, and she says, well, you know, a lot of people who read this book end up quitting it. So I thought, well, I need to get this book. Well, she gave me a copy. And so I read it. Now, the thing with me is, I don't listen to instructions all that well. And in the book it says, to be able to quit, you need to follow instructions. Well, what happened was, I read into it a little bit. And one of the instructions is, you keep smoking until you're done the book. Okay, well, I can do that. Well, I read along. Early in the book, he talks about the cravings. And he mentions that they're nothing but empty, hollow feelings, no more than a minor hunger pain. And at the time I was reading that, I was getting one. And I went, let's check this out. And I'm thinking, yeah, nobody's poking me with a stick, nobody's pinching me, it doesn't hurt. I got thinking, well, this is easy enough to beat. Like, this is what's been driving me crazy? I guess it just took him to point that out. So, I skimmed through the book. I wouldn't read it probably as intently as I should. So when I got to the end of the book, I came to the part where it says, if you still want a cigarette, you have missed something, go back and read it again. I thought, no, yeah, I might still want a cigarette a little bit, but I can beat it now. So I closed the book and put my cigarette out as planned. For when I was done the book, I had planned I was going to put out my last cigarette, and that was it. I was done. And I went along for a couple hours, and yeah, the cravings weren't all that bad, and no big deal. And then I went to work, and I saw my buddy smoking, and I said, yeah, today's not the day that this is happening. So anyway, I went along a little longer, and I got thinking, well, if I didn't have the cravings, I could quit. So I prayed to God. I says, Lord, please take these cravings away from me. And He did. And I still continued to smoke. Well, on January 26, 2013, at 3:45 p.m., I opened up my cigarette pack and I found it was empty. And I was expecting to find one more, and then I was going to go get some more. But all of a sudden it hit me that I was done. I didn't want them anymore. Up until that point, I'd been going over and over in my mind stuff that he says in the book that I could remember. And I finally came to the conclusion that I did not want to smoke anymore. And that was it. I quit smoking. I haven't had a cigarette since. Today's date is like August the 5th, 2015. So I'm over 2.5 years. Haven't had a cigarette at all. Don't want one. And I had a great quit. He talks in his book about the two monsters that you have to beat to be able to quit smoking. The big monster and the little monster. Well, the little monster is the cravings. And everybody thinks, oh, if I can beat the cravings, I can beat smoking. Well, it's actually the want to smoke that keeps you smoking, not the cravings. Like, yeah, they'll fuel the want to smoke, but and the want to smoke is partially due to the cravings, I guess, so the fear of having to go through the cravings. And the brainwashing that goes along with it, like smoking is harder to beat than heroin. No, it's not. It might be more addictive, easier to get addicted to cigarettes than it is to heroin, but it's a whole bunch easier to quit than heroin. I didn't go into convulsions, shudders, sweats, wasn't throwing up, didn't have to drink a gallon of orange juice every hour. No, I just laughed every time I had a craving. I had a great time. Because the cravings are no more than a signal. Now, he mentions in the book that you should try and change what the signal means to you, because whenever you got that feeling, you would think, well, I need a cigarette. He says, well, you should change that signal to think that you are getting healthier, which is true, because I've read somewhere that within 24 hours your chances of having a stroke are significantly less. So yeah, you're getting healthier, but I couldn't really go with that. I am like most smokers and didn't really care about the health thing. It's nice to know I've gotten healthier, but that wasn't a big deal with me. What I did was, and he does mention this in the book, and I had actually missed that because I skimmed through it, but he says it's a signal that the nicotine in you is leaving, it's depleting. Well, I thought about that. Well, if that's the stuff that's keeping me addicted to these toxic, rancid things, yeah. You're leaving? Bye-bye. Sorry, it just... Because it was great. Every 45 minutes, I got reminded that I wasn't a slave to these stupid things anymore. Because you gotta read the book to find out what I mean there. But your whole day is planned around having cigarettes. You're out in the cold, out in the rain. If you live in Canada, out in the snow. You can't even go in parks in Ontario and smoke. Like, you're almost treated like a second-class citizen, which is so wrong. But that's the way it is. So yeah, so I'm free of these things. And you may think, well, they do something special for me. They help me relax. They help me do this. They help me do that. No. He clearly points out in his book that the only thing that they help you do is get rid of a nicotine fit. They only cure things that they cause. And you can say, well, I'm too stressed to quit smoking now. He clearly points out in the book that the cigarettes cause you more stress. They don't take stress away. The only stress they take away is the stress that they cause. And it goes on. You need to read the book. Now, I know that you're all sitting there going, well, I don't want to quit right now. I'm not going to ask that question. Yeah, you're not getting off that easy. I'll ask you another question again, and still, sorry. Do you wish you'd never started? Do you wish you'd never picked up this foul habit? I know. Only about every time you have a cigarette when you're about halfway through them. Yeah, that's in the book too. You can tell the guy was a smoker. He knows his stuff. So yeah. So I don't know. You need to, when you finally do quit, he says plan your quit. I didn't plan mine, mine just happened. But if you're gonna plan your quit, which is probably a good idea, plan to quit maybe a couple hours before you go to bed. He says there's a rougher part of the quit. I didn't notice it, but he says there's a rougher part of the quit that happens like within the first 8 hours. But you sleep through it every night. So I'm thinking if you quit a couple hours before you go to bed, when you wake up, all you have left is a craving / signals / reminders that you're doing wonderful. Also, I had the day, like I had 24 hours to myself. Now I know that's not possible in a lot of people's lives, but if you can do that, that would be a big bonus too. If not by yourself, then at least maybe not around smokers for 24 hours, just till you get used to how to deal with these things in the proper way. Now, I had Cheryl quitting at the same time as I did, and I had her fiance quitting, Shane, and that was my little support group. Maybe you can hook up with a smoker and another smoker or two and get them to read the book at the same time. Kind of do your support thing. Bounce ideas off each other, because we're all unique, so different ideas help. And again, don't quit smoking until you want to not smoke. Not until you want to quit, but until there's no want in you to have these things anymore. The book will get you there. I'm almost positive of it. I've heard of people reading the book and not getting there. I'm sorry. This book says there's 13 million copies sold, but on the back it says an estimated 10 million people have quit. I bought copies for people, and they read into it a little bit, and I think it's the fear of having to go through the cravings that makes them put the book down, and they go, yeah, I want to quit, but not today. You don't have to quit when you get to the end of the book. You quit when you want to not smoke anymore, and then that's not a problem. Then when you don't want to smoke, then you quit. So you keep reading the book until you want to quit. You will eventually get there. It'll eventually put stuff in your head that will make you free of all the crap that's in there that makes you want to smoke. You're not cool because you have a cigarette. You're not tough because you have a cigarette. You may be tough, but these things, with the way they take people's lives, you may not be tough for the vast majority of your life if you keep it up. Now, sorry, I've got to follow the notes here. I gave this information to a co-worker of mine, and he planned his quit a couple hours before he went to bed, and he woke up and he quit for 2 weeks, but he didn't read the book. He was 2 weeks free of cigarettes, and he still wanted one. So he tells me, yeah, I broke down last night and I rolled up some butts. And I says to him, I says, and it was a great cigarette. Oh yeah, he says, it was a great cigarette. You rolled up butts and it was a great cigarette. This is a hold on you that these stupid things have. You don't need this. I want to thank Allen for writing the book. I believe he's passed on now. And yeah, 13 million copies sold. You gotta figure he made a couple bucks off it. I don't hold a grudge against him for making money off of this, because if it wasn't for him writing this down, I'd still probably be smoking, along with most of them 10 million people that I quit by reading the book. All the power to the guy. If he hadn't written that down and just kept it to himself, yeah, you wouldn't be hearing this and maybe thinking you should be reading the book. Well, hopefully anyway. So yeah, thank you, Alan. I want to thank Cheryl for giving me the copy and talking to me about the book, and along with Shane being part of the support group, or dialogue group. That was significant in itself. Thank you, both of you. And thank you for hearing me out. Sorry for all the hemming and hawing. I'm not the best at this. Spent some time trying to figure out how I'm going to tell you all this. And I still probably haven't got it right, but hopefully I've gotten enough to you that you understand what I'm trying to say. The book is available, of course, in, I believe, probably most major bookstores. It's available on iTunes. And I think he has a website where you can buy the book too. I've heard that the book is actually available on CD also, so you can listen to it. I would rather have the book, but like I said, everybody's unique. Yeah, so it's available like right now. And while you may say, well, I want to smoke, I want to quit, but not today. Today would be a wonderful time for you to feel better about yourself, that you're doing something for yourself. You are freeing yourself from this. No one's saying you have to stop smoking today, but you're making the effort for yourself. Do it for you. And and then when you do make the quit, every 45 minutes, you're reminded by this gentle little empty, hollow pain in you that you are free of these things, that you've made the right decision, that the government and the manufacturers of these things aren't taking you for a chump anymore. And that was, if you need to put a face to it, that's a great face to put to your quit. That right there. He mentions in the book that it's often being said, yes, it's often being said that cigarettes are the only legal product which, if used as the manufacturer intended, kills you. The government says, though, that's not quite true, because I've seen it on cigarette packs. They say, oh no, only 1 out of every 2 people die, long-term smokers die from cigarette use. Well, isn't that comforting to know you got a 50-50 chance of making it? Yeah. Anyway, thanks again for hearing me out. I really wish you a great quit. I do. I had a wonderful quit. In 2.5 years plus, now free of them, and I don't want one. I actually didn't want one a day into my quit for sure. I had people open cigarettes, pack and hold it open in front of me. Didn't want one. I'm broken free. I wish this for you too. Have a nice day. Bye now.